My name's Chris.
And I'm so excitement.
This is the Washing Up Podcast. That was the Bakeoff Grand Final.
Oh my God.
And yeah,
What?
that was fun.
Oh, I just can't believe we're here already. It feels like a bit of a fairy tale. We had a fairy tale opening. It was just...
That was great. That was a really good finale, actually.
Yeah.
Now we kind of... We need to start with something. We kind of just hinted that in our tweets. There's a reason why, and thank you everybody on Twitter for not asking us at any point this season, who do you think we're going to win? Now...
The reason for that is essentially...
We were at the grand final.
We were. You get to see the back of my head in the show. I was so excited.
At one point, I was right in the middle of a frame, and literally, I don't know what happened in the second half of that because we just spent the last part going, "I'm there! Look, it's me!" So we were at the grand final.
Yeah. So now it sounds like we're so excited about ourselves and not what we actually watched tonight.
But it was so much better than I could have anticipated.
Absolutely. The way the stories were captured tonight was just...
it was absolutely wonderful.
Perfection. It was like the nougatine on Barb's treasure chest.
We'll talk about the nougatine on Barb's treasure a bit later.
No, hold on. The nougatine on Barb's chest. Which I presume is how they're going to celebrate later tonight.
Hefty. It was hefty.
It's like an armour. Ooh, I'd like that. An armour of nougatine.
So let's get into...
Sending me into battle.
So let's get into the grand final, shall we?
Yes.
So the fun part, the really fun part for us was we were at the grand final, but obviously we were at that second part of the final challenge.
Yeah.
Which means we hadn't seen the first two challenges and knew nothing about them.
No, and the whole thing is I was worried about is finding out who the winner is, and I'm thinking, is this going to spoil it for me? And it hasn't. This whole series has been fantastic to watch. Just the development of the bakers, the stories being told, the journey. It's all about the journey, not the destination.
And I think we'll talk about the grand final.
Destination.
We'll talk about being at the grand final a bit later.
People say it's not about the destination, like haven't been to Expo 88 because...
Anyway, so the Battenberg cake, which was the first part of this challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Now Dave decided to go with a sunflower Battenberg. And one of the themes that I've picked up in this series with Dave is that when Dave finds a theme...
He sticks to it.
Not only does he stick to it, he becomes a little bit obsessive.
But if you look at the
royal family in British Week went from being, isn't that quaint, to I think he's stalking them. To we were watching Selling Houses Australia before the replay of last night's episode.
Where they hinted that Charlie Albone
was going over to work with the royal family, and part of me in my head was going, is that Dave under a mask?
Or maybe Dave's just joined a gardening crew. Suddenly he's like swapped an apron for overalls.
Over there to work with the Queen. But sunflowers have been, and the flowers have been a bit of a theme, obviously, for Dave, because he's very good at them.
He is, but I have to say, I think it might be a bit of like subconscious conditioning, because if you look in the shed, there's always sunflowers. There's always that big bunch of sunflowers in the background. Yep. So I think it's by osmosis.
So you reckon it's a little bit like they're just planting little memories for him to sort of pick up
just...
Wouldn't be shocked.
Way to program. Now we know how to program Dave.
There's sunflowers everywhere. So he made lemon and chocolate cake with the Italian buttercream. Now, the Italian buttercream thing we'll go into a little bit more depth in a minute. Because amazingly, there were a couple of times tonight where I actually talked about something technical baking and vaguely seemed to know what I was talking about. I'm as shocked as you.
But talking about technical baking, like the fucking precision, like when I'm seeing like Barb and Claudia doing, what I would have done, which is just long strips of cake that you put together. Then when you cut it, it looks like checkers. Here's Dave just banging out individual checks. It's like, Christ,
it's insane. And we'll come back to that in a minute. So Barb went with a lemon and lime with an orange jam, and marzipan painted with flowers. Now, as we said, looked at the end amazing.
The buttercream flowers on that. Gorge.
Marzipan was fascinating though, because there was a very big sort of divide down the middle on Twitter about marzipan.
The disappointing tweet. It is the disappointing sweet.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. Robert, on the other hand, seems to believe that marzipan can be salvaged.
So how? By dipping it in chocolate?
No, he said there was I think it was hazelnut, I think he said. But I will have to take Robert's word for it. I think we might need to try that at some point.
Yeah.
But it looked incredible, and the planting looked really good.
Absolutely.
The planter box.
Oh, what a nice concept.
And Claudia went with the citrus orchard with finger limes, which is such a good concept.
Sculpting skills. She's just sitting there banging them out, like just rolling out a little lemon as she's chatting to camera.
It's impressive how she managed to do that. It was really impressive to watch her sort of just put that together. And
she went with 2 kinds of marzipan, the pistachio and another one.
And the other interesting part about Claudia tonight, and I think it came through all the way, and you mentioned it in the showstopper at the end.
Yeah.
Claudia did something that we've talked about the whole way through that bakers should really be doing at this point.
Yeah.
Bake to your audience.
Yep.
She knows. Maggie Beer loves finger limes.
Australian flavours.
Yep.
You throw in some lemon myrtle, you throw in finger limes, you play to, salt bush, whatever you can get into your bake that's Aussie, and it will play into the judges. So her psychology came in handy.
It came in handy indeed.
There we go. It's the Medico of the mind.
The Medico of the mind. The MOM. So it was really, they were 3 really interesting calls. Now, I said, Claudia and Dave made their cakes in full.
Yep.
Barb went with the clever idea of making the smaller strips already.
But she had to do 2 separate bakes.
But the benefit was that she then didn't need to fiddle around later on when the others did.
Yeah.
So while the others' cakes were made in full, they then needed to wait for a very large cake to cool before they could slice it up. Whereas Barb had the smaller cakes that would cool naturally faster.
Yeah.
And she could throw it together a bit faster.
Yeah, I think either way would have worked in the time frame because Barb, like I said, had to do 2 batches, and I probably would have gone with what her logic was because I'm like, okay, I don't have to cut as much because I'm cockeyed and would just completely fuck up.
Yeah, and my thing would be the same. I wouldn't want to have to, if I could avoid cutting something, I probably would avoid it.
I am like the complete opposite to Dave. There is no precision when it comes to me. It's
good enough. But there was a really good tweet, actually. It was put out by, I can't remember which chef put it out, but it was retweeted by Nigella Lawson, which is all about all these people with knife skills, talking about knife skills. And it was talking about the fine knife skills and all these chefs you see with amazing knife skills. And this chef put out, and Nigella goes, I 100% agree. Who cares about fine knife skills if you're cooking at home? You don't need fine knife skills. If you're dicing an onion, chop it up so it gets in the pan.
Yep.
Doesn't need to be absolute precision, fine sliced onion. It doesn't need to be that.
Because I actually saw how you get to do that when I watched that Julia Childs movie. You know, the one where, and Julia Childs just had to practice chopping onions from unless you're Julia Childs who's got a husband out, earning all the big bucks and you've got nothing else to do. You're not going to be sitting at home trying to chop onions until you get them perfect.
So that level of precision, I would never even dream of it. I mean, Dave uses the machine, obviously.
Now I see why that machine is awesome.
As he said the other day, if it was a fire, I'd think about saving the machine first.
Although his wife, wow, what a gorge lady.
Now, I am going to say that I thought that what Dave did, while it was incredibly brave and would look sensational, there were 2 things I had about it. The first thing was that it was a bit over the top, cutting each individual cube and then stacking them all together.
Yeah.
And the second thing, we said it at the time, was how the hell are you going to hold it together? And the answer is buttercream.
And that was his failing.
Yeah, and that was what they said to them was, we love the look of this.
But the ratio of buttercream to cake.
It doesn't work because you've had to use so much buttercream to try to hold it together like mortar with bricks that it just overpowered it because you had too much buttercream.
Yeah. I mean, buttercream's all well and good for decoration, but, when you're coming to take a big bite of something, you don't want the oil, coating your palate.
Yeah, one of the benefits I find when people coat, a cake in a lot of buttercream is that I can have as much as I want and I can scrape
the rest of it off.
It off to make it work for my palate. If it's full of buttercream, you can't do it.
You can't do it. And unfortunately, that's what let him down. I reckon if he'd have done it similar to Claudia and Barb's and just had the long strips, it would have been a better ratio of buttercream too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, because he wouldn't have had to worry about the cross design. You know what he could have done with?
What?
He could have done with our structural engineer of the year, Chris, to help him out with that structure.
Yeah, coming in with his Francis Greenway skills of talent.
Indeed. And if you don't get that, go listen to the Virgies. Now, Barb had amazing decoration on hers. That planter box, it looked sensational. I loved when Barb had folded it all over, and Mel's just gone, so you got some decoration on that? And Barb's like, what do you mean? That's finished. Like, okay, now for your cake.
Yes.
And so the decoration ended up looking amazing. Like the detail on the outside of that was superb.
Yeah.
They said it was a heavier sponge than they anticipated.
Yeah.
But the flavour of the sponge was really, really good.
Oh, yeah, that looked delicious. I thought the perfect mix of citrus there, and then she had the marzipan on the outside, which I think would work in balance with that citrus, and buttercream flowers. Oh, I think she picked up a few things from Dave with those flowers.
I think so, and I love the way when she did the first piping, stepped back, shook her hands, and just went, nervous. Yeah. Really nervous. And who can blame you?
So obviously she did an exchange with Dave. She's like, I will teach you, Padawan, how to be more like sassier and use innuendos. He's like, and I will teach you buttercream flowers.
I will help you fire those zingers. And Claudia. Now, they said the decoration was superb. The sponge was flavourful, but it was really well balanced as well. So the first challenge was really close. I think Barb and Claudia were just sort of clear of Dave.
Yeah. And
probably Claudia's just a little bit ahead of Barb, but not by much. Literally a hair in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Which brought us to the technical. Now, and the technical, as we said, the interesting part this year is that the technicals have been intriguing because the ones that have screwed people up have been simple.
Yes.
And it was interesting because with the rum bubbers, the thing that screwed people up was actually the simple part of the instructions and people trying to find a way to do it faster.
Yeah.
Or differently. So, I mean, we started off with a great clear line. For those working out how where a rum bubba comes from. When a rum daddy and a rum mummy love each other very much. Now, as they were also saying, of course, the rum bubba is a relative of the bubka.
Which means old lady.
Was 1 year out for poor Antonio. 1 year out. So what we had was basically the process of making them themselves was pretty straightforward. Most of it was proving.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of people sitting there watching a bowl with dough in it prove.
Mind you, I thought Barb's proving draw looked the best. Like, I'm like, I could totally go and relax in there. Like, the amount of steam going, I thought just me and a towel.
It's a nice little steam-proof room.
Yes, exactly.
So you've got a really interesting sort of process going on there. Most of it was proving, although we did have a great moment at one point where Barb got Maggie drunk. Which was brilliant, where she's, ooh, that's a bit strong, and did the Maggie excited hands.
If Michelle needs to step down for any reason as the deputy Maggie Beer,
then the deputy Maggie Beer,
Barb can come along.
Although we never found out who won the Maggie Beer lookalike competition.
Must have been Barb. Yeah.
I mean, Michelle apparently came second, and Maggie apparently came third. When they brought Matt Moran up, I thought they were about to say Matt Moran came first. And look, I've already done that with him beating Chris for best mohawk and beard combo.
I do have to say though, like at that. We'll probably get to it at the end, but I just want to say our wedding's coming up. If Matt's making a waistcoat line,
I'll step in there, yeah. I'll get in there, no problems. And Claudia then followed that up by saying, it's a Maggie recipe, so you always do add an extra slosh.
Yes. I like how she's like, I won't drink the rum because I'll get snoozy. I'll just smell it. See those things just hitting the spot.
And then we had Barb went over and gave one of the great stirring speeches of our time.
See why she's her netball coach. Yeah.
Gave me oranges. All right, team, it was a great first half. Mm-hmm. Right, I loved her little instructional.
We need to get back out there for the second.
You could just sort of see that, like, Claudia sort of knew obviously she's done sport. You can see that Dave has never done organised sport like that before.
He's done running. Giving me oranges.
Does lots of running. Obviously, they said marathon man Dave does lots of running, but I don't know if he's necessarily done the Australian team sport.
There's no half time in a marathon. You don't stop halfway.
I stop, but that's before I even start. I don't attempt it.
I've never done a marathon.
No, I'm never.
Maybe I'll give it a bell one day.
I won't. I'm openly going to say that, you know. I once worked with someone who runs like crazy, does triathlons for a living, and I you know, he's a machine, and used to go before he'd come to work. He'd go and do a 10k swim, a 5k run, and a 5k bike, and then he'd come to work for the day, and then he'd go do more, and he'd talk about all this running that he was doing in the morning and the swimming, and I'd go, I walked the 15 metres to my car. I'm a little bit worn out.
Did he have to tape his nipples?
No, he didn't. But someone else who I worked with, there is a photo out there of them running a marathon. I'm not going to name them. But there was a photo out there of him running a marathon.
With tape?
No, with blood.
Oh, no.
Yeah, from the nipples.
Oh, my God. That just makes me cringe.
Yeah, no, the photo is amazing. I'll get you access to it at some point. It's
no,
amazing.
I really don't want to see it.
No, bad luck. Too late now.
Okay.
So then we had one of the great moments of this series, which was David his kumquat gloves. So now, I don't know what you were drinking when I said that, because I knew what I was going to say. And
Marceau, eat your heart out.
I love the fact, first of all, that I've referred to them as kumquat gloves. They're not made of kumquats. Dave then became a mime.
I wonder if, because he goes, oh, these remind me of my mum. She's a doctor. And I just now envision Dave's mum, like, coming home late from work and she's quite tired, but then she sees her child and, you know, he's, like, sad because he hasn't seen his mummy because she works long hours, and then she pulls out the gloves and just starts miming to cheer him up. So that's why he was so excited about the gloves, because he's like... Smile, kiddo. Yeah, it's like, it's mime time. I did this with my mum.
So we then... It felt good so far as an episode, but it didn't quite feel like Bakeoff.
No.
Something was missing. And then we found out the part of the broth, basically, that the rum bubbers were soaking in was verjuice.
Oh, day complete.
It was verjuice from, of course, Virgie's Hall of Famer, Maggie Beer.
Yeah.
Soaking the rum bubbers in verjuice.
And, you know, she was out battling a verjuice emergency last night. And,
brave woman.
Exactly. You know, and she got nominated and accepted, or she didn't get nominated. She was just put in straight into the Hall of Fame.
And she didn't necessarily even accept it, but, you know, she doesn't know.
No.
Let's face it, she doesn't have a clue.
Yeah.
But still,
no one else that could have possibly...
Yeah, congratulations again, Maggie. It's wonderful. But... the soaking in the syrup, of all the things that I didn't expect in this episode to be worried about,
was the soak. It
was watching 12 of these cakes sitting in a syrup.
I really love the spa treatment these cakes get, you know, like they get...
Oh, it was glorious.
It was glorious, you know, like they're left to rest. They're like given a massage, then they're left to rest and prove. Then they're piped out and then put in again to a steam room, and then they're brought out to have a nice soak, you know, to enrich their nutrients or whatever.
It was absolutely wonderful, and they got a really nice treatment. Now,
and then they came out all golden brown, like they'd had a spray tan.
Now, this was interesting because I'll go through the judging first, and then I'll go back to what happened with the soaking.
Okay.
So, Barb, they said the presentation was great, the bake was really moist, it was delicious, and as Matt Moran said, pretty much perfect.
Yeah.
Claudia's, they said the decoration was a bit different to Maggie's. They said that the soak wasn't quite equal, that one side seemed to have a lot more syrup on it than the other side did, but the flavour was really good.
Yep.
Dave's, they said, had a different presentation again, looked like sunflowers. They said there was too much cream, and they also said that it didn't soak in evenly, and there were pockets where you had lots of syrup and then pockets where you had
enough. Yeah.
Now let's go back to the soak.
Yes.
So, Dave decided that he was going to be clever and speed the process up.
Poke holes in them.
He poked holes in the bottom. Now, at that time, he poked the holes in the bottom, and I turned around to you and I went, but that's going to mean that it's going to soak into some parts but not others.
Yes, that is what you said.
So I actually understood something technically about baking. It's terrifying. It won't happen again, I promise.
You just know the ins and outs of absorption.
Yeah, I know about absorption and I know about holes.
Yes.
And secondly, Claudia... left her soaking in one way and went, they're a bit fragile, I don't really want to turn them. So she started spooning the mixture on top.
Yeah.
Which meant that the base was permanently soaking and the others was just getting a bit of a dousing.
Yeah.
Which did lead to that unevenness. Barb was flipping them every 4 minutes,
and
as the instruction
basting.
in the recipe said, flipping and basting, flipping and basting.
Yeah.
Now, this goes back to one of the oldest, most long-standing traditions in any of these shows. Whenever you get a recipe that actually gives you explicit instructions, do them.
It can be a little, I guess, a bit of, what's it called? Like, just a little confusing when the thing is rotation, when you think that flip would be the instruction.
They weren't worried about, but the thing was that they weren't worried about do you rotate them or not. They were worried about them falling apart because they get really soft and soggy. That's what they were concerned about. Dave's thing for me was he was looking for a shortcut.
Yeah. So he could decorate.
So he could decorate it more. And I understand that because decorating is Dave's big strength.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted to do with it. And I think Claudia just got to the point where she was worried about the structural integrity.
Yeah.
And Barb just bravely ploughed on and went...
She risked it for the barber.
This is going to fall down. This is going to fall down. Barb did it for the barber.
Barb.
Barb, have you any bakes? No.
Barbaran.
No.
Barbaran and won the tech.
She did win the tech indeed. So Barb first, Claudia second, Dave third. But then they go on to the showstopper, and the showstopper was... It was an edible centerpiece. I'm not going to pronounce it. I'm not going to try.
It's a piss something or other.
It sounds like piss.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
Piscatarian.
I don't know. It's not piscatarian. I don't...
Pissquinkle. Piss in a pot.
So...
Pot and a piss.
So what we've got...
Piss tuissus.
So what we've got is... Barb made a treasure chest.
Yep.
So it was choux buns and nougatine. Claudia made a cockatoo out of choux, nougatine for the wings, and a hell of a lot of spun sugar.
Yep.
Dave made an Oriental Garden with passion fruit, modelling chocolate, spun sugar, and that, fine craft work on that outside of the modelling chocolate. This is where our story begins. So we're not going to give you everything, obviously, because, there's magic behind television.
Exactly.
But we got there about midday.
We did.
About midday we all walked in there.
I was, having social anxiety, through the roof because, we were not just by ourselves.
Okay, so we need to... Obviously, we need to give a massive shout-out and a massive thank you, and I can never... express my gratitude enough to Liv and Fee in particular, and Nicole at Bakeoff. Liv and Fee went and asked if we could possibly come to the grand final.
Yeah.
And it was an absolutely wonderful gesture by two amazing humans, and I can't thank them enough. And I can't thank everybody in that series enough, because we spent the entire day with these people who we'd sort of spoken to some of them, but not all of them.
No.
We met everybody for the first time on that day. They could not have been warmer. They could not have been friendlier. They could not have been more welcoming. It wasn't a case of, you just sit over here and we'll all talk. And not just that series as well. Sian and Nathan were also there, and they were just
sweethearts.
Wonderful
Absolute
people.
Sweethearts.
And not just the people, but some of the dogs. The little dog that you saw a lot with a coat on it.
Little black dog, is
Diana's dog, and it is the most adorable dog.
We thought it would be on more than that, but it was still, featured quite heavily tonight.
But we had all of these bakers and family members and friends, and we got to go and spend the entire day with these people, just sitting and talking. And
it's a fan's dream, really. Okay, just imagine what a picnic spread done by an entire Bakeoff cast would look like, and it blows what you could imagine out of the water, what these people actually produced. There were bee stings, there were these macarons that Jeremy brought all the way from Adelaide. He brought them up on the plane, and they tasted like the bee's knees, really.
The amount and the quality of food was
phenomenal. You could not
And I have to say that the melting moments that were in Delicious Magazine, which are Olivia's recipe, I've said all the way along, I'm not a massive sweet fan, but they were incredible.
Yep.
They are one of the best things I've ever eaten in terms of sweet food.
And I'm a croissant fan, and Fee made croissant, and I just maybe had little lady orgasms.
And because I got to pick somebody up from the airport and be his Uber.
You got to play Jeremy.
Shout out to my bro Jeremy. I picked him up at the airport, and my payment was in macarons.
It was.
And oh my God.
Yes.
Out of this world macarons. So we got there about halfway through, like you saw the big everyone walk in moment. And we got there about halfway through the technical and through the showstopper. And there was a massive fair day there. It was food stalls that had some amazing food. The Middle Eastern food stall was the one I kept on going back to and just getting more.
One thing I will mention about the production crew, the way that they catered to kids and dogs.
Oh,
I thought it was going to be absolute fucking chaos, but it was chaos, but joyful chaos, and they had things for kids to do.
The whole thing was a welcoming day for everybody. If you were there, you were welcome.
Yeah.
Nobody felt like an outsider. Nobody felt like they didn't belong.
And if you want to talk about people who are gracious beyond Maggie.
But there was the only thing I will say in regards to filming is there was a moment where they needed Matt and Maggie to go in and film a piece to camera. And they were all calling out because Maggie was talking to everybody. She stopped and talked to everybody, and they called her about 4 or 5 times, and she was like, in a minute, and was just chatting to people who were coming up to her and saying hello. And she just, the embodiment.
Gracious.
The embodiment. And Matt was the same too. Matt was talking to everyone, and it was just this really wonderful day.
Absolutely.
And so we get there, and it's this beautiful day, and it's this wonderful occasion, and you're going up and you're watching these guys bake in the grand final.
Oh, my
Bakeoff,
gosh.
and you can't quite believe it.
No.
And then there was this hush that fell around.
It rippled across the whole fucking premises.
And a lot of the time they say with these sorts of shows, they play moments up for TV. When Barb's chest smashed,
they didn't do it justice.
There was a ripple that went across, and especially given whether we were sitting with the bakers from the previous series, because they all knew. So when it happened, they're like, "Oh my God, this is what happened. What can she do? How can she fix this?" And it was just this ripple went through. Yeah, and it was, you knew it was serious. Yeah, and you could just see the stress and the tension, and you could see also all the people within the shed trying to support her and sort of pick her up and get her energies going.
And you could see the cluster because, like, we didn't know who the new bakers were or who their family, or you could kind of guess who their families were, but there was just like this beautiful little pot of strength. And you saw it tonight, you know, in that window, like all the families just yelling out support and cheering them on. And I think that it's you see it on the TV, but it's so tangible when you're there in real life. Yeah. So it's such a beautiful, authentic experience, and I think they captured it well tonight.
And when we saw that, it was like, because you can't really see the damage. Obviously, you know it's broken.
Yeah.
Dear God, just the way that thing broke, you can see why it was so devastating. And then we had Claudia finishes and runs over and just goes, "I'm helping you again."
Yep, I watched that moment, and I'm okay. So I Spidey tingle, right, for winners. And I had no idea. And I told you.
Yep.
I walked over to the shed to have a sticky beak. I felt a bit, like, oh, I'm imposing here. Went over for a little sticky beak, and I saw this woman with this calm serenity around her and this, like, giant bird in front. And I walked back to Chris and I went, I can tell you who's won. It's the woman in the back there on the right. And he's like, yeah, whatever. I should have written it down. And I said, no, she's got the thing and she's running over to help the other person who's baking in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just, whew.
It was a really intense moment.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day we went back to being fun. And like, it livened up again really quickly, and everyone sort of livened up. When they were finished, it was a genuine joy on their faces. And then the judging happens. And when I said the judging happens, nothing happened for a good few hours.
Yeah,
So,
they don't make a decision quickly.
No, they don't. Like when Rob says they really agonise over this stuff, and he said in a couple of other episodes, you don't see the whole of the process, and the judging isn't a 5-second thing.
No.
They finished baking about 3 o'clock, and they didn't announce a winner until 7.
Yeah. Something I thought they did really well in the show tonight was showing more of the judging process. Like those little asides between Matt and Maggie having a chat about what they've just tasted, what's going for it, what the strengths are, and, where their mind's at.
Yeah, when they got to the judging, that was beautiful. When they did the judging and they were sort of talking it out a bit.
Yeah.
So you had Barb, they said it was amazing work on the nougatine, but it had clearly cracked.
Yeah.
The flavour was amazing. The shoe was delicious, and they thought it was spectacular. And Matt loved the definition on the rest of that chest.
Absolutely.
Dave, they said that...
He just said he loved the definition on the chest.
They did. Dave's, they said, looked amazing.
Some people call boobs chest.
Well done. Dave's, they said, looked absolutely amazing. But Matt's concern was that it wasn't grand as a showstopper in terms of it had to be a centerpiece.
Because you really did, it was some fine work on it, but it wasn't that whole, you looked at Claudia's and you could see it, you could see the work she'd put into it. Dave's was very refined and very, very delicate. It was in true Dave style. Yeah.
It was very Dave.
He just needed a bit of Chris. He just needed Chris to come in and help him with the structure. Could you imagine the two of them? They could do a real life-size fucking Oriental garden. They could bring back Dave's Oriental garden from his childhood, but edible. It'd be like Willy Wonka and the David garden.
Willy Wonka and the David garden. Surely it's Willy Wonka and the Brian garden.
Look, after my award last night, I'm like, you know what? I need to move on and find something else to excel at, and I think it'll be actually using people's correct names. Shout out to my hairdresser, who I perpetually call Michaela.
Yeah, it's not a name. Anyway, so... And then we had Claudia's. And Claudia's, first of all, that cockatoo looked amazing. And again, speaking of things that weren't done justice on television, the cockatoo live.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, boy.
Did we mention we got to eat the nougatine?
I was about to get there.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
You've jumped ahead of me.
Sorry, I jumped the shark. I jumped the cockatoo.
You jumped the cockatoo. So native flavours. Claudia used native flavours, which Maggie used.
Smart. Finger lime.
The shoe was marvellous. They said it had
lemon myrtle, that's right.
Everything had the right crunch. Everything was lovely.
Yeah.
Now to the bit that you just jumped to. When they all walked away for a bit and did their pieces to camera, somebody, I'm not going to say who.
Maybe the winner from season 2.
But somebody...
Whose name maybe rhyme with Bolivia.
Somebody went over to where the bakes were, and they didn't steal. Everyone was sort of eating and picking at it.
She just joined in.
She came back with the nougatine wall from the back of Barb's chest. And... There was a reason why on Twitter I said, oh my God, I'm salivating looking at that nougatine, because I'm remembering that it is one of the most delicious things I've ever eaten in my life.
Queen.
Barb, I've mentioned this to you before, but that nougatine was incredible. Matt said it. You heard Matt say it on the judgment. He goes, that nougatine was incredible. It was brilliant.
Yeah. If you could make me armour out of that nougatine, I would be happy. Actually, no, I don't want it in armour. I just want it in a big, long line that I can chew through every morning. It would be my bedhead, and I could wake up and just have a bite and be happy for the day.
It was incredible. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
It might get a bit fluffy, though, and cat hair on it.
Yeah, it would definitely get cat hair all over it.
Yeah.
But then we sat. And it wasn't boring. That was the thing, though. It was a long period of time. Everyone went and talked. We got to talk to a few people.
We got to behold Fee. Now, Fee is a woman of so many talents. Her and I had both been binge-watching Degrassi because it had come up on Netflix.
Oh, yes, that's right. This was the middle of your Degrassi phase.
Yeah, and she'd done this jacket because I'd just been made redundant, so how else was I going to spend my time looking for a new job? Oh, fuck that. I'm going to watch Degrassi and live my childhood. And she'd made this awesome jacket that was dedicated to Degrassi. It was beautiful. Also, there is another Cake Smash video, and I do hope it eventually makes it out. It was another Liesl and Fee. And speaking of wonderful people. Oh my God, Liesl is the woman if I had a daughter, I'd want her to be Liesl. Liesl, yeah. Oh, it was sweetheart. Yeah.
There's a great photo. I'm going to put it up once we finish recording.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful photo I love of you and Liesl after the show, after the recording.
These guys did a lot to help with my social anxiety. It was just...
Look, cannot
thank them enough.
Yeah, and personally, on a very personal note from me, I can't thank them enough for sort of helping out and making that day. I was concerned with how that day could have gone.
Yeah,
but they were so helpful and so amazing and so wonderful, and everything we'd said about them up to that point was all about how they just you can't fake good. We talk about that all the time. You can't fake good people, and you can't fake how wonderful these people were. And I mean, the saddest part for me was that we didn't yet know this batch of bakers when we were there.
No.
The only one we really spoke to was
Jess.
Was Jess. And
I said hello to Marcus because someone said, Marcus is and Emma as well.
And Emma as well. Sort of said hi. We said hi because so Emma was with Jess at the time.
Yeah,
We sort of said a quick hi.
But for me, I'm kind of like, well, you're the new celebs. I can't. I felt like.
And we were looking. It was funny. We were looking.
I felt like Wayne and Garth.
We're watching back tonight. I flicked a message to Robert going. Flicked a message back to Robert going. You were legitimately standing directly in front of me. At the time.
Shadow.
I'm just thinking, I can't see. There's this giant redhead in front of me. I was manoeuvring around, and I may have been manoeuvring around because there was a big bowl of M&Ms, and there were all these lollies and cakes.
Which was hilarious with the kids there, right? So there's these kids and dogs running around. It's active. It's fun, and every 5 seconds you'd hear some mother or father going, no, you can't have any more sugar. And you've just got producers just you could just see these little smirks on their faces of what's been laid out for these kids.
Except it came back to haunt the producers at that very end because they got to the point where we're announcing the winner.
Yeah.
And everyone's there and they do what they're doing.
It's been a long day.
And they do what they're doing and they're filming. And all these kids have been sugared up all day. And that Ferris wheel, by the way, there's a great one of the 2 photos I put up on Twitter already on the Washing Up account is a photo of myself and James and Liesl and Nathan on the Ferris wheel because we all got on at one point. We were all just riding around in circles.
Yeah.
At one point, I was riding past Jeremy, and every time I went past Jeremy, I leant out and stole another macaron. But at night. They got all the kids on there for those shots they did with the kids going around. And then they got to the decision bit.
And the kids didn't want to get off.
And they were all sugared up. And so you have highly sugared kids.
Yep.
On this wheel going around, on this carousel.
Yeah.
On this carousel going around. And you can just see one producer at one point went, whose bright idea was this? It was his. But it was the most. Again, it was a wonderful day. It was a long day, but it was a really, really nice day.
And you could see how fucking hard that crew works.
Oh,
woe to go! You could tell they'd already had a long day by the time we got there, and everyone was focused, professional. People who were supporting all of us skits arriving, going, oh my God, we're at the Bakeoff chef. We're so gracious.
And we were being a little bit difficult they made us walk in a couple of times. And the first time, I may have been the pack horse and I was carrying a billion things. And we walked down and did it the first time and they went, can we do one more shot?
And Chris has gone, nah.
And
I'm
so
not carrying
myself
all that.
and a couple of the others, I think Monica and Sam, her husband, and stuff like that, we were just stashing stuff under the benches and walked back up so we weren't going to carry it a second time.
Yeah.
Because it was just no, I've done this once. Now carry it back. No, really not.
Whole, when you go to, TV stations and stuff, I've been on video and whatever.
We know.
They do enough to kind of get you there and to get you on the telly and stuff, but there's no real hosting, as in taking care of the audience is wheeled in and then they're wheeled out. Everyone on the day, it was really a beautiful celebration. Everyone was made, as we were saying, made to feel welcome. I think it had been very thoughtfully laid out in terms of there was food and not just, for meat eaters, but for vegetarians and stuff too. There was a
paella that was incredible.
Oh
huge.
My God.
I've never seen a pan that big.
No, you could bake in it yourself.
You could swim. You could swim.
You could. Paella dive. Ow. Covered in saffron. It was very thoughtfully done, and it continued on the authenticity and the care that this show, embodies. So
it really is, and we've talked about it a few times. The conversation is always around it being the nicest show on television. And look, going to that grand final, it legitimately is the nicest show on television.
Yep.
Both what you see on air
and what goes behind the scenes.
What goes on behind the scenes. It was just a lovely day, and baking was the focus.
Absolutely.
The art of baking did win.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful occasion, and I think that it was a really good, especially then when you came back and watched it tonight, it
captured it beautifully.
It was the perfect storytelling celebration of these bakers in particular.
Absolutely.
And it passed the baton over from the bakers of last series, who were all, as you said, wonderful, amazing.
Because if you're keen-eyed, you'd see everyone. You'd see Antonio's face popping up. You'd see Liv wandering down in the background.
Yep. You'd see James
towering over everyone.
Really tall. And
Diana, you're like, am I watching an ad? Or
Cheryl was there. And by the way, Cheryl again.
Oh, what a woman.
A wonderful person.
She is just...
So, again, look, legitimately everyone is wonderful, but we do need to give a special mention to Cheryl, who is just a lovely, lovely human being.
Yes. Especially when she's, taking photos with a cutout of Matt and Maggie.
Oh. Okay.
You tell this.
Okay, I have to, and again...
I so thought this was going to make it.
If this story gets back there, I apologise, Cheryl. But there was a cardboard cutout of Matt and Maggie, and everyone was taking photos with the cardboard cutout of Matt and Maggie. And so Cheryl goes over to take a photo with the cardboard cutout of Matt and Maggie. And the next thing you know, everyone's on the ground.
Yeah, it was like, whoa, it's up late.
She leant on it, and it went the wrong way, and they fell over, and Cheryl's gone with them.
Oh, it was just so... And her grace under this whole...
It was graceful. It wasn't a klutzy fall.
No.
It was graceful.
And she still looked gorgeous, and she's like...
elegant.
Elegant. She's just like,
it was the most...
just me and the gravity.
It was the most elegant fall. And
it happens all the time.
Again... Everyone was so damn nice, and I really hope that everyone appreciates that knows that we appreciate them for this day. It was something, and it was legitimately 2 days after we got engaged.
It was
because I had made a bit of a pledge to myself that we weren't going to go to the final of Bakeoff and not have that happen, and I may have had a couple of cheerleaders on the phone with me on the way back to propose.
That's good.
Hey Fee, hey Liv. Anyway, so that was the grand final. Claudia wins the grand final of the Great Australian Bake Off, and those little bits they did after the credits this year were so good.
Whoever put that together, I just want to give you a hug, because that was perfection. Every single little bit was hilarious, from Matt's new vest line to waistcoat line to the Maggie coming third in a Maggie beer lookalike competition. Dave.
The writing was superb.
Just beautiful. Well done.
The writing was superb. Yeah. Overall, I don't think you can argue that Claudia didn't deserve to win. She clearly, and we said this all the way along, she was the most consistent baker on the show. She really did produce some amazingly solid stuff. I mean, there weren't really... During the bakes, there were like split hairs here and there between her and Barb, really. And
it could have gone either way. And honest to God, it could have gone either way. And
it wasn't just... And the thing was, it wasn't like... There were some people who go, it was... If Barb's chest hadn't have broken up like that...
You said chest again.
I know.
Barb's chest.
What Claudia produced in that cockatoo in particular in the Showstopper... was... That's what you want out of it. And as we said... No challenge this series was decided by somebody screwing up.
No.
And what Barb put forward in that chest was still good enough that it was highly competitive and it wasn't
Absolutely.
If only that or if only this or if only that.
And
what Dave put forward with his was really good. It just needed to be a little bit bigger.
And the unfortunate thing for Dave, and he was just a little off in the first 2 bakes. And it came down to like.
But the fine detail on that
Yes.
pagoda was amazing. But it was just the fact that it was so small. I think. If he'd made it a bit bigger, he probably would have been in the running. I think the fact that it was so small probably hurt him.
Yeah.
But Claudia, I think, deserved the victory.
Absolutely. And Barb is a viewer favourite. We can't deny that, No. And there was a moment there, if I didn't know who won, I probably would have thought, oh, Barb's got this tonight.
But I think after you saw the showstopper,
you can't deny that cockatoo.
I think once the showstopper was done, I think everyone sort of was of the same mind. It's Claudia. And deservedly so.
And Claudia made something that I fucking love and haven't found a decent one of for ages. Crispy profiteroles, fucking toffee on top.
Well, hopefully in the next week or so we should be hopefully speaking to Claudia again, this time as the winner. and we can probably ask her about a recipe as to how to make that how to get that shoe perfect like that.
Maybe I'll have a crack at it now. I'm not a trivia host.
There you go. Maybe you can have a go at that now. So
maybe I should coach myself to be a baker.
That could be fun.
Oh, I could have a montage.
Got to have a montage.
And then after my montage, I'm obviously ready to audition for Bakeoff.
So if any of the bakers would like to reach out to Kristie and help her achieve this new goal that she's just come up with now of being in Bakeoff,
just set me on the simple basics, first.
You and Brandon both have to apply.
Oh yes, we could be on it together.
You could team it.
I really need to work on my fitness though, because I don't think they'd you think Selassie was lazy in the Great British Bake Off shed? I'd be bringing in a couch and a recliner.
As Chris said the other day, as Dave proved, good pair of shoes.
Yeah, the producer be going, where the fuck's Kristie again? Oh, I think she's out there, out in the green room, just having a nap. just napping. Could be my downfall, my kryptonite.
So that was the grand final of what was an outstanding series of the Great Australian Bake Off. Now, we will still be around. We'll still be doing bits and pieces here and there. We've got a couple of interviews probably coming up, hopefully with Claudia. Possibly at some point we'll be talking to the lovely ladies from Gin and Cake over in the US.
I can't wait. That'll be awesome.
So they'll be spectacular. Plus there'll be little bits and pieces here and there popping up.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously later in the year as well, MasterChef Australia will come back. And we'll
Eurovision?
be back for that. Eurovision, we're going to be back for that as well.
Nothing to do with baking, just something we both love.
So
we might even do a wedding special.
We may even do a wedding special. Who can say?
Because, when you have a wedding, they always podcast from weddings. It's tradition.
Yeah, I've actually thought about that. So I won't lie. I have pondered I have pondered doing that.
Okay, let me spell it out for you very clearly. Our whole wedding is Bakeoff themed. I shit you not. We have a venue very close to where Bakeoff is filmed that looks like the Bakeoff shed. Not exactly, but kind of. We have our dear friend Gabby, also, been on the podcast, decorating for us, who has found bunting, who has designed these decorations that are very Bakeoff sheddy. Not exact. We're not cosplaying. It's an homage.
And there may be other little bits and pieces that we're not going to tell you about now. But later on down the track, you'll probably
show you some photos. We'll do a whole slideshow.
We will indeed.
I'll bring out the projector. And
look at all Mad Men.
Yes. This is where we walked in. This is Chris.
So
these are his shoes.
So while she's doing this, what we will be doing is we'll be doing bits and pieces. We'll be doing bits and pieces. Obviously, this is our 8th podcast in 8 days.
Fuck me.
So we do need a little bit of a breather. But
I don't know what you're talking about.
But we'll be back doing bits and pieces. We'll be around on the social media. That won't be going away.
My main fear was that we wouldn't be able to pull out a podcast tonight because, who the fuck could have topped what we did last night?
No, please go listen to the Virgie Awards. I do not regularly talk up things that we record, but listen to the Virgies for us because that was so much fun, and I really enjoyed listening to it.
I was a bit worried. I'm like, this isn't going to come off as we thought it would, and shit.
We've had an absolute ball doing this series.
Absolutely.
It's been a blast. Thank you to everyone on social media. The social media crew again has been out and about. And it's been a great sort of Twitter group again. It's grown by the week. It's actually one of the rare times I'm happy they've expanded the number of Twitter characters you can use, because the shout-out needed to get a little bigger and bigger. I actually get to the limit of characters now.
And there's some great new people on there, and it's good to see that there's more people who, like, are genuine fans and excited about the show. There was someone, I just started following them because she's like, I'm here with my mum and, we're more excited about Bakeoff than we should be. It's like, no. Nerd out. That's what this is about. Nerd out. Get your nerd on.
So, with all that in mind, we will be back, in the very near future when British Bake Off is back, when the next series of Australian Bake Off is out, we will be there.
Jessica Malboy's heading over to Portugal to
come mid-table because it's not a very good song.
You've seen the pool this year. It's fairly shallow.
Nobody's a very good song.
Please, like some obscure country enter and have something fucking awesome.
And so we'll be back for Eurovision. We'll be back for MasterChef. At some point in the near future, hopefully I'll be back with a certain tall ginger ninja, and we'll be talking a bit more seriously about
You
food.
need to get yourself a headband.
I really do.
You do.
You won't be able to see me over the top of Robert, who'll be standing in front of me.
No, you'll be like his mini-me.
So with the idea of being Robert's mini-me ringing in my ears, thank you as well to Kristie, obviously, for your outstanding work in this series. It has been an absolute joy and a delight, as always, and I'm not just saying this because we live in the same house.
Well, I just want to take a moment. Now, last night I may have got a bit carried away with where I was going, but this whole podcast is not only glued together, it is wrangled, forced, cat-herded into some form of tangible, recognisable shape that you could call a podcast. And none of that would be possible without you, my love. You are a very fun but also practical and talented dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, who just... Dude who really is... If I'm the peacock feathers, then you're certainly the peacock body.
I'm the torso.
You're the torso of this operation.
I'm the torso of this operation. It's a proud moment. And thank you again to all the bakers. Thank you to everybody at Bakeoff and Foxtel.
Yep, lifestyle.
Who have been so good with our tweeting and our podcast and have not sort of yelled at us
going, you can't
doing this.
Talk about Bakeoff.
You're on a podcast where you talk to our bakers and say the word felching a lot. and they've never once made a nasty comment about that. So thank you guys for that. And
thank you, Brandon.
And thank you, Brandon. They're also, by the way, just so people know, they are very happy with us being honest about the show, which is beautiful.
Yeah, there's
really
no,
appreciate it.
There's no. You can't talk about this. You can't talk about that.
In case anyone thinks, maybe you can't say anything. No,
obviously it's like you can't say who the winner is, because that would be like one.
Well, that'd be stupid and ruin all your fun.
And who the fuck would want that? I wouldn't listen to me if I did that. And
nobody would do that except Prue Leith and maybe random Australian magazines. So with that in mind, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all at some point on the flip side.
Felt you later.